and welcome back to Football Made Simple. We're back with an in-game analysis as Andrea Pirlo took charge of his first Juventus match in Serie A. With little prior experience, there was a lot of interest in how he would fare versus Ranieri's Sampdoria, and in the end, they came away comfortable 3-0 winners, thanks to goals by Kulusevski, Leonardo Bonucci and Cristiano Ronaldo. The XG indicated it was a deserved win, 2.14 to 0.61. But what tactics did Pirlo use? Let's take a look. If you want a closer look at how Pirlo wants Juventus to play generally, check out this video linked in the cards and at the end of this video, where we go through his tactical philosophy according to the dissertation he wrote for his UEFA Pro license. And if you want to get early access to other videos as well as exclusive videos whilst helping to support the channel, check out the FMS Patreon. Just head on over to patreon.com/footballmadesimple if you want to check it out. And if you're unable to, a like goes a long way. A quick reminder of the formations used by both sides, as seen on the OneFootball app. OneFootball will get you match updates, formation updates, as well as player and team stats, and so much more. And the best part is, you can get it absolutely free through the sponsored link in the description below. Let's start by looking at how Juventus looked to play out from the back. Juventus were determined to play out short throughout the 90, and early on in the match, Sampdoria were happy to press high up on the Juventus centre-backs. And Pirlo's men used several different methods to break the press. The simplest way was by pushing the wingers into the half spaces and hoping that this would cause the Sampdoria wingers to come narrow to compensate as a result. This would then leave Juventus's wing-backs free as the outlets, particularly in situations where Juventus first played from right to left or vice versa to then free up the switch. But for the most part, Sampdoria naturally had the 2 versus 1 advantage in the wide regions, and as a result, they could just sit their wingers on the Juventus wingbacks. So Juventus had to adapt. As the Sampdoria wingers were out wide to provide defensive solidity, it meant that at times, it was up to their number 8s to push high and apply the pressure on Juventus's men. In these scenarios, it meant that the responsibility often fell on one of Rabiot and McKennie to drop deep and create a 4 versus 3 and be the spare man, which they did manage at times. One of the ways they played through the Sampdoria press was through the intelligent movement of all 3 centre-backs, especially when Sampdoria did press with their wingers. At least one of the Juventus pivots would stay higher up the pitch to prevent Sampdoria's midfielders from pushing high onto the Juventus centre-backs. Bonucci would then push into the midfield to be the free man, either as the single or double pivot, and from there he could help them to play out. As the match went on, Sampdoria began to be more conservative with the pressing high up the pitch. But they still faced problems at times when committing their midfielders to the press, as this only served to leave space between the lines. And this space between the lines was a major area that Pirlo looked to exploit, as he gave permission to his centre-backs to attempt high-risk, line-breaking passes. This was aided by Juventus's constantly rotating front 3, as Ramsey often pushed high as a forward for most of the game, as one or even 2 of the men would drop deep to look to pick up the ball, whilst the others looked to make runs in behind to prevent the centre-backs from being able to push higher up the pitch. This positioning also forced Sampdoria's midfielders into decisions. If they stayed deeper to prevent the penetrating pass, McKennie and Rabiot had time and space to dictate the game or look to create. And if they pushed higher, the men between the lines could be dangerous as well. If the man dropping picked up the ball, he would look to turn and play in his forward partners into the box. Alternatively, if they went direct to the man running in behind, they would often look for the layback to create even more space. We see shades of this in the first goal. The Sampdoria midfielders have decided to stay deeper to try and close off the pass into Ronaldo, whilst Ramsey is providing the depth. Rabiot has time and space to play a weighted pass into Ramsey, who knocks it down to Ronaldo to attack the box. When the ball breaks down, Kulusevski finishes expertly. The third goal also has similar patterns. Juventus' central midfielders have time on the ball, as Sampdoria have given them space. Ramsey is between the lines whilst Ronaldo is providing the depth. Ramsey receives the ball in this area, turns and plays in Ronaldo as he had been doing all game for the finish. But the role of Danilo was crucial. When Juventus had the ball, he functioned as an extra midfielder, often found higher up in the right half space. With the other pivots occupied, if he was left unmarked, he was happy either to step forward and have a shot, which he did early on in the match. Or he could help to dictate play, and he had the most touches for the team. So, Sampdoria's left winger would often have to come narrow to pick him up, often subsequently meaning that Cuadrado would be 1 versus 1 when the pass wide did come. And the fullbacks were key to the system throughout the 90. Ramsey often moved into the left half space to drag the fullback narrow, whilst this was reciprocated on the right hand side. And this central overload meant that Sampdoria's wingers were often drawn narrow to help support. As a result, the switches to the wing backs were consistently on, often through the free Danilo. When the wing back then got into crossing positions, they would aim to flood the box, and always made that the far side fullback got in at the far post to help support. Let's take a quick look at the defensive end of things. Juventus throughout the match were able to win the ball quickly, with their low passes per defensive action. But high up the pitch, they were mainly focused on cutting off passing lanes to then force the man long, rather than turning the ball over high up. But when Sampdoria did manage to get higher up the pitch, Juventus actually shifted their shape to a 4-4-2, with Cuadrado joining the midfield line and Ramsey coming to left midfield, whilst Danilo then became the right back. This meant that they countered the natural 2 versus 1 advantage Sampdoria would have had in the wide region using the default shapes. Overall, it was a great performance by Juventus, which was almost all positive for Pirlo's men. It will be interesting to see how they fare against higher quality opposition. But what did you make of the match? Any other tactics you noticed? Drop them down in the comments below. As always, a special thanks to my Patreons, including Dennis Giannakaris, Omir Etzioni, Ali Traore, Fabian Vanham, Yijang Wang, Soccer Down Here, Zaini Zain, Piotr Olenkevitsk, and Matt R.